Good afternoon. Pretty straightforward session today. We came into the session wanting to see how price was going to trade versus that downside pivot. That was the primary watch on both ES and NQ. Let's start off with ES here. So we talked about essentially wanting to see how price is going to trade versus this zone, right? I love to come into a session with one primary pivot on watch that has large structural importance because it just makes the day so much easier. It makes the day so much more straightforward. If we know that price is going to be triggering the breakdown below this point, we know short setups are going to be in focus. We know we need to be incredibly cautious with longs if we take any longs whatsoever. And for me, that makes the session way easier. Way easier. So post NFP, we have that retest. That's what you can see right through here. Let's jump onto the 15-minute. There's your NFP retest of the key zone, that key pivot. Get the initial push higher. Sellers are sitting there, and you get the move lower. Post NFP move lower. So at that point, we pretty much know, all right, the daily time frame breakdown play is in the works. It's in the works today. And then following NFP, what we end up seeing is pretty nice fib retracement there right into your fib sell zone with VWAP as a confluence. This is like such a great opportunity. Even these shorts ahead of market open, pretty nice, but this opportunity through here is phenomenal. Again, we're within the context of a big picture breakdown. We have the NFP move lower. We have a bit of recovery, a bit of retracement of that NFP move lower. We have VWAP right there. So there's no level of interest here, but this is still going to be an A quality play. Well within the 2-hour trader framework, if you're familiar with that. Target is down into session lows. So it gives a really large opportunity versus the risk at hand. So really good action there. Sellers continue to dominate. We talked about, if you joined the live stream this morning, we talked about the potential, it's like right around this time, honestly, the potential for that kind of late morning range. And pretty much exactly what panned out. I was expecting the range through kind of this zone. We did see a little bit of expansion there, right? But that's a late morning, afternoon range right there. It'll be a little more clear on the 5-minute. Let's jump over to that 5-minute. Let me clear these drawings off. Take a look at that. That's exactly what you like to see. These ranges are tradable. They can be very lucrative if your levels are accurate. You have good levels to work with. You have that mid-range volume point of control as well as a solid reference point, but this type of action is very good. What you can do is, again, if you don't want to short for any reason, you can just wait for this range to settle, this range to build out, and then you have plenty of long opportunities to be getting involved in there. So name of the game on a session like this is just knowing what you want to see, knowing a few different ways in which price can unfold, and then kind of having a game plan together for those various scenarios. And again, that was what we discussed in the live stream this morning on YouTube. So as far as what we'll be looking at here on Monday, we are still within the context of that daily time frame breakdown. And so really what I want to be focusing on Monday is today's low as well as this afternoon base that we saw develop. So essentially the two areas I'll be interested in, and it aligns so nicely with a level of interest already. It's going to be the 53.70 level of interest and then today's low. Don't even need to modify the levels of interest. As always, I love that because it just shows the accuracy of the analysis. And so two potential scenarios to think about here are buyers essentially almost forcing like a near-term breakout of this afternoon base for a partial retracement, maybe a retest back into the breakdown point, maybe a retest of today's high. Or the other scenario to consider is just the continuation move, right? Just that basic continuation move down through today's low to test some of the larger daily time frame pivots that are beneath us. Let's go look at those here in a sec. So the next major area down here is really right through here, like 5,300, this 5,270 area. Let me take a look at the year-to-date volume point of control. Is it actually right here? Yes, it is, 5,275. So that'll be a significant area, as well as the 5,300. And I'll share more on that in the weekly kickoff. But as of right now, we're still within the context of this trend lower daily breakdown today. Monday's objective will be to see essentially how price trades versus either today's low or this afternoon range high, which will be significant. This 5,370 area, 5,375 area, treating that like a zone. If buyers can sustain up through 5,375, I'll be looking at 5,400, today's high, and potentially the breakdown point from today, which is this red zone right through here. So that's the watch on Monday for ES. Taking a look at NQ, very similar type of structure. We have the daily breakdown today. Zooming out, there's your daily chart. And one of the main things I wanted to see for today was how the 750 was treated. Right through here, 750. See the significance of that level? Was that earlier in the week low? Anytime you have a structure kind of marking like a true low like this and then giving a significant move. This is a significant move. That end point is going to be very important if price revisits it. It's a lot of eyeballs on this point. And not only that, there's just a lot of liquidity sitting below here, right? Because if you're long at any point during this with size, like big size, millions, you're most likely going to be getting stopped out of that play down through here. Right. So if you have a large book trying to position for some type of duration play, some type of swing play, something like that, all their liquidity is going to be sitting down here. Right. So we see that in the overnight session this morning with that kind of big cascade once yesterday's low really fails. That's this candle right through here. And then coming into NFP, take a look at the response to 750 pre-NFP. Again, significant, right? Level to level move, 750, 550, 550 retested. Really good action pre-market this morning. This is what I mean when I say the pre-market, it's likely going to be tradable today. I'd mentioned that this morning in the live stream, pre-market prep live stream. This is like a layup trade. I was off the desk, but I would have been all over this trade. Come into the open, retest 550, right? Level of interest. Look at the velocity of this move. I mean, that's just crazy. Up into 750, and again, significance of 750, like I talked about in the YouTube live stream, is the fact that it is that breakdown point. So there's going to be a lot of shorts that are wanting to re-enter there. One of the things you can do is you can always, if it's harder for you to kind of visualize the price action going down, like you're better at looking at those breakouts, just invert your chart. And again, we're looking at 750. So price trades higher. Would you take this long? Retest of the breakout point at 750? If yes, then there's your short entry. Right? There's your short entry. Here's your breakout point, right? So it's another way to, kind of an easier way to wrap your mind around it. If you struggle to see those short opportunities, just invert your chart, and it can be very helpful. Now, as far as Monday session, same type of approach. Let's jump over to the daily chart quickly. So not exactly suggesting that buyers are stepping in yet, right? This daily bar. What we want to see on Monday is, do sellers continue through this key area of support at 400? Look at all the support here for the year. You also have the high volume node here and the volume point of control for the year. This is the year to date volume point of control. So it's possible that price starts to settle into a range here. These high volume nodes and volume point of controls, they tend to act like just a magnet. And so we saw this volume void fill quickly. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, right? Now we're into the highest volume point of the year, which is right through here, 530 or so. So what I'll be looking at on Monday is a very similar approach to what we just discussed in ES. Can price leave this afternoon base, essentially, this afternoon range? And then I'll be looking to, if it's a long setup, trade in the direction of that break, or if it's a short, just wait for that next area of support to be tested with some of the higher time frame developments before getting involved. So that's a recap on today. Mish says no big economic events next week. Even more odds for a range. Yeah, that's actually really good info. So if it is a slower week next week as far as the economic calendar, and price is trading within what I consider kind of it's like a big magnet. This is the value area, right? Volume point of control is value area. And so what we may end up seeing is just kind of volatility compression, as I like to call it. Just, range through here, no big moves in either direction. That just one possible scenario to be considering, especially following some bouts of huge volatility. Biggest we've seen all year by far. So volatility by its very nature compresses after you have these big expansion events. It's going to compress. That's just how it works. Let's take a look at VIX. This is actually insane. VIX almost printed a 30 handle today. I think that's way overdone, just from a personal opinion. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see more compression next week. Volatility needs a reason to stay bid. There has to be a reason. And if we don't have anything on the economic calendar, then what is the reason that this thing is staying bid? Recessionary fears? Is that it? I don't know. But this is something we got to keep an eye on. So if that volatility starts to compress, starts to collapse, expect those tighter ranges, tighter targets, things of that nature, right? We're not going to be having these huge 200-point magnitude moves. Go back to much smaller. You'll see the ATR compressing as well. We came from like a 200 ATR on NQ to now it's 438. So the ATR is like doubled. It's wild. It's wild. So some things to keep in mind, some things to watch for. We'll see how this continues to shape out. Let me get some eyeballs on the weekly really quick. So the weekly not showing any signs of reversal just yet, right? Closing right on the lows. So we'll probably need some type of, like before we get a real continued move higher, we want the weekly bar to have, think of like a hammer, think of a bullish engulfing, think of even a doji. Doji could set up next week if there's nothing on the economic calendar. So that's kind of what we want to be keeping an eye on. Hope that helps out. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message in the think tank. Otherwise, I'll see you on Monday. On Monday, most likely going to be doing another live stream on YouTube. So if you missed that today, definitely tune in. That was a lot of fun. I think the feedback was really solid. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. So we'll post the link in the chat. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the morning. Have a good weekend.